Internets, hello you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 1. This is going to be full spoilers for the episode, and that ending, which was a huge ending, I do think sets up a lot of themes and tones and ideas for the entire season, so full spoilers, including the ending. If you're new to this page, I want to get right into this review, but if you're new here, please hit that subscription bell. I cover lots of comic stuff. I cover movies. I cover TV. I'd love to know in the comments what you all thought of this episode. Let's have a conversation like the back of a comic store. Let's dive in to Episode 1 of Daredevil Born Again. I think this is what I wanted from the rebirth of Daredevil to begin with, but unfortunately, because of situations outside of everyone's control, that first Born Again season was an amalgamation of a show they were going to make and the show that we ended up getting, and there was a lot of course correcting. This to me feels like the path we were always meant to be on, while still acknowledging and appreciating that first season. I actually care more about the supporting cast in this season already than I did the supporting cast of Born Again in Season 1. The writing in this episode, I think, was so top-notch to endear us to all of the supporting cast that we never really got the chance to really invest in. I am so invested in Sherry. I am so much more invested in BB beyond just being the niece of Urich. Now, again, spoilers for the end of the episode. I do love that this ending mirrors the ending of Season 1, Episode 1. In Season 1, Episode 1, we lose Foggy, and it is at the hands of Bullseye, and there is almost Daredevil murdering Bullseye in that first episode. In Season 2, Episode 1, it is the exact opposite. It is Bullseye saving Daredevil while Daredevil is remembering Foggy's death. While he's having a parallel moment which distracts him for a moment, he gets unmasked. Everything goes topsy-turvy, but it's Bullseye that saves him versus Bullseye killing. It is such an interesting inversion, and we had some photos leak that seem to have the two of them at least being cordial. Very curious how that was going to work out. This seems to me like there's going to be enough at stake that Daredevil's going to be in a position with Bullseye, I think, like he is often in a position with Punisher. I think that moment, the 5 seconds in between the shots actually going off and the knife bouncing around saying "You're welcome," signed Bullseye, so comic-y. We're getting so much Dexter in a comic-y way. But in those few seconds, I was wondering if it was Punisher and we were just misled about John Bernthal. And I think that was very intentional. I think the relationship between Bullseye and Daredevil is going to be very tempestuous, but in moments mirroring that Punisher you can't kill, and obviously this is a full homicidal maniac. Now, I don't think they're going to team up to the level. I don't think they're going to be friends, reluctant friends even, like Punisher and Daredevil are, but I think there's going to be elements of those things. Now, like I said, this supporting cast is so much more utilized in this second season. The first season did a really good job, Born Again, for Kingpin and Daredevil. The show starts with Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk. Wilson rising to power. He's basically mayor and he becomes Kingpin again. Matt Murdock is basically Matt Murdock and he becomes Daredevil again. What's interesting here is there's a lot less intercutting between the two of them, and therefore we have them fully fleshed as Daredevil and Kingpin, but it almost feels like they're not their alter egos this season. Last season they were almost completely Matt and Wilson, and we grew into the characters we know as Kingpin and Daredevil. This season, Matt Murdock is on the run just as much as Daredevil. Matt Murdock has not been seen, and I loved that for a moment with the unmasking, I was like, oh, well, Matt's not really around. What does this do? Except for, obviously, the liability of these dirty cops, which were taken care of quickly. But Matt Murdock is the man who is not around. Daredevil is. I'm curious why Kingpin hasn't revealed that. Obviously, in his giant vigilante task force, he wants more than just Daredevil, but it is interesting how we get that. We also had a Jessica Jones name drop in this episode. Throughout the episode, Matt was asking Deborah to help with investigative journalism, and she kept saying she'd talk to her. At one point, I believe she said Jess, which is going to be our Jessica Jones coming back this season. Very excited about that. Kristen Ritter is an incredible Jessica Jones, but I think it's really interesting this season. Like I said, Matt Murdock is more undercover. We also don't have the strong mayoral presence. We have the Kingpin as a presence. The entrance of Matt Lillard, which we're going to talk about here in a second, which was a huge highlight for me. I'm very excited for that this season. The entrance was him being greeted practically as Kingpin. These other government officials dismissed. He doesn't care. He's the Kingpin. He's giving himself these incredible powers of government and law. He's doing all these things that are illegal. He's not really acting as mayor. He's acting as a crime lord already, and that's only going to escalate. So I love that Season 1 brought us back to status quo, and now we are here, and that's what it feels like Season 2 is going to be. It's going to be going from where we left off with Netflix Season 3 with these new characters from Born Again Season 1, but now we care, I think, more about Heather in this episode, at least for me, than I did all of Season 1. I'm so curious about her as a psychiatrist, psychologist, and mentalist dealing with trauma herself, and her hatred of vigilantes now becoming an absolute liability. And I love the juxtaposition of her and the ex-DA office, the woman, the lawyer that Matt hired to work in his firm, Frances, I forget her name, I apologize, but the woman who also works in the office. I did not really have a deep investment in Cherry or that fellow lawyer now working with Murdoch. In this one episode, her detailed past of the DA and her leaving because of her integrity, juxtaposing Heather sacrificing her integrity, betraying everything that she believes in because of vigilantes. They're both on exactly opposite paths, and that intercutting is very interesting. It mirrors, obviously, Wilson and Matt's in the first season, but I love that the supporting cast is getting so much more to do immediately because I automatically care more about Heather, and I'm very much more interested in this ethics of what the law is going to be in the hands of a vigilante task force, which is not topical at all, by the way. The Anti-Vigilante Task Force, the AVTF, is not in any way mirroring our world with another acronymed hiding behind a badge, doing things because they've been told and acting as insane fascists in major cities near you. It is an insane thing to have this show be so ballsy and so bold and so just like saying the quiet part out loud, which is comic books, which is the importance of art, which is us using our voices. And let's talk about a very important voice, an incredible addition to the show. Matt Lillard is in this season as Mr. Charles. I love that Mr. Charles is immediately the counter to Wilson Fisk. He is immediately a man of power like Wilson Fisk, but he is all of the chaos and somehow charm that is the opposite of the cold, sterile power that is Fisk. They both clearly have power. He walked in, said you're not going to want to do that. A phone rang. Contessa, by the way, our great Julie Louis-Dreyfus from Thunderbolts, who is now trapped leading an Avengers in her own way. That level of power wielded by Matthew Lillard, who works for Langley, who I assume is some sort of government operative, maybe CIA. We're going to find that out as the season goes. But there's an inherent charm to Matthew Lillard at all times. But there's also an inherent, he's able to tap into an inherent madness and this unleashing of energy, but he keeps it under the surface. Just like Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio has all this energy under the surface, but it feels like this unbridled rage. Matthew Lillard's able to do it in this like more flowy, free-spirited way, but at the same level. They mirror each other so interestingly. So in seasons past, we had Law and Order and what it is to break the law in a way like a mayor or, a crime lord would, opposite how Daredevil's breaking law, and them both loving their city. That's one of the things I always loved about Daredevil, is every punch lands twice, because you really did get invested in Kingpin. But we've had that story for 4 seasons, those two mirroring each other. This season, we've got a Mr. Charles and a Wilson Fisk Kingpin mirroring each other, and I'm so curious about more of what Matt Lillard's going to bring to this character, about what Mr. Charles is going to do to undermine Kingpin, about what someone that seems to be someone in crime is doing in a different way, how joyful he is, but also hiring people to sacrifice them, and the coldness of that, but with that warm blend of Stu Macher from Scream meets the Descendants Matthew Lillard, or even Weapons Matthew Lillard. There's such a fascinating array of energy that he brings, which is so powerful but different than Wilson Fisk. So love that. I'm very excited to see them go toe-to-toe. I mentioned BB Urich earlier. I think she was a highlight of season 1 that I wanted to care about more and I wanted to invest in more. Immediately do here, as well as the Gandolfini character, who is now deputy mayor. He is really interesting because he's like this frat bro that got power, and obviously when things collapse, he is going to be someone that gets Westlead. He is someone that's going to take a fall. He is someone that is currently useful but won't be forever. And I'm really curious with BB playing her cards close to the chest so far, if she is in fact the anonymous / Max Headroom Kingpin we see in those news segments, because the BB report is still going, but it's propaganda now. It's saying how great Wilson's doing. It's saying how good the city is and how clean everything is. And I love that they're using this like bright, vibrant 90s, everything's good. And then that is obviously against everything she actually believes, but she is using her leverage, and I think she is going to be under that Kingpin mask, also using the news in the other way, because she even said in the last season, giving that cop her card, yes, she does, and she uses a pseudonym, she does other things, she uses her voice in other ways under false identities. I think she's the Kingpin of that anonymous vibe, telling the truth through the same news that she's lying through in order to get closer and to learn things. So lots of juggling parts here, a lot going on. I hope Cherry's okay. I realized this episode how much I cared about him, because I was genuinely so bereft in those moments. And I want to give some love to Justin Benson and Aaron Moorehead. I should have shouted them at the top, but they were the guys that took over the show season 1 and did the first and last episode, reshaped the old show and the new show, blended it together. This season, they get to do it themselves. This season is their season. They directed this episode. This episode was written by the guy who show ran season 1 of Punisher, an incredible season of TV. Wrote this episode, is writing a lot of this season, along with Justin and Aaron, shaping the season of Daredevil. These guys are geniuses. They did, basically, Loki season 2 is my favorite Marvel cinematic universe thing, and they did a lot of my favorite elements of Moon Knight. They are geniuses. They're incredible filmmakers. Check out Spring, amongst other incredible work they've done. Very excited to see what they do with this season now that it's completely in their control as opposed to a hodgepodge. Plus, like I said, the writer of Punisher and Philip Silvera doing the stunts and doing the fight choreography and leading that incredible stunt team. That work at the end of this episode was genius. Very excited to see what his version of a hallway is as things develop. Lots of stuff to talk about. Very excited Daredevil Born Again is back. Very excited is it in very, very capable hands. I'm very excited to see Matthew Lillard join the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Very excited for Jessica Jones to be back soon. That name drop had me excited. Loved the ending of this with Bullseye. Loved that he signed it. I'm just so excited for next week. So please, if you haven't already, hit that subscription bell. Going to be covering this every single week, week to week, every episode. Also going to be covering The Boys when it drops very soon. And as always, every weekend, except for when I'm out of town, a live stream breaking down my favorite comics of the week. I read about 50 to 70 comics. About 40 of those to 50 of those are new comics, and I give you my favorite 9 that week, trying to get people into comic stores. So if you like comics, if you like movies, if you like TV, if you like genre content stuff, hit that subscription bell and let me know in the comments what you thought of Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 1. Did you love it as much as I did? Do you still miss the Netflix show? Do you feel like this is getting closer? Did you like Born Again Season 1, Episode 1 more? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you. Bye, everybody.